So I'm presuming that if you're watching this video, you've come from my 50 states and their capitals cover. Otherwise, you're just here to learn the song. But one way or the other, I can help. So this is a really easy song, aside obviously from memorising all 50 states and their capitals in the right order, but that's something I can't really help you with. But the chords to it are very simple, and the other thing that makes this song tricky though is that the original Animaniacs version, it shifts up through the keys. So while you might start with a nice D, by the time you finish you're up in F. So I'm going to show you, I mean there's not particularly a good way to transition through them, but I am going to show you the different, how the pattern moves as you move it up the fretboard. So we start out, and I'm not sure if this is entirely correct to the recording. I couldn't find one that was in like an actual steady key. It was always sort of D and a half or D flat and a half. So sort of if you're playing along to the recording, tune yourself to the recording as best you can. Otherwise, I find it's best to just start in D. And this melody, a lot of people will probably know this, some people might not. It's actually an old country western folk melody called Turkey in the Straw. So once you've learned this song, you can actually also then play along mostly with Turkey in the Straw. So what we start out with is the D, and we get this really nice little... which is where you play just a regular D chord, so... but then you bounce on the root note of the D, and then the A. And that's just a really nice sort of, it's a nice way to keep sort of a bass line ringing through a song when you've only got an acoustic guitar. So it's a good technique to learn. So that's how we start out. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Columbus is the capital of... And now we have our first chord change, which is just a change to an A. And you keep that same bouncy boom, 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 boom rhythm going on the bass. So now we're going between the A root note and E. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Columbus is the capital of Ohio. There's Montgomery, Alabama. So we're back on the D. Montgomery, Alabama, south of Helena, Montana. Then there's Denver, Colorado, under Boise, Idaho. So back to that A just for one little dum, bum thing there. So then we move into the next part of the song. So that's sort of the first section. And as you're moving up through the chords, that will repeat in that pattern, even as we're changing to different chords. So, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Columbus is the capital of Ohio. There's Montgomery, Alabama, south of Helena, Montana. Then there's Denver, Colorado, under Boise, Idaho. So now we move into the second section of the song. And again, as we move through the rest of the song, this pattern remains the same, even as the chords change. Texas has Austin, then we go north to Massachusetts, Boston. So now we move to the G. Now the way that you do the bouncy is a bit different on a G chord. So you start with the root notes on the G, obviously, but you can't go down, so you have to go up. But you don't just go to the very next string up, the B, because that's not right. You need to go to the D, which is left open. Texas has Austin, then we go north to Massachusetts, Boston, Albany, New York. Back to the D. Tallahassee, Florida, Washington, D.C., Santa Fe, New Mexico, Nashville, Tennessee. So you do another one of those just little onto the A to sort of give it a bit of flavour. So the entire first section, first like verse, 2 parts. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Columbus is the capital of Ohio. There's Montgomery, Alabama, south of Helena, Montana. Denver, Colorado, under Boise, Idaho. Texas has Austin, then we go north to Massachusetts, Boston, Albany, New York. Tallahassee, Florida, and Washington, D.C. Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Nashville, Tennessee. So you can do it, I mean, you can do it as individually picked notes. can play it as the whole chord. Or you can do it sort of as individually picked chord. I'm not so good at doing the individually picked chord, but you get the idea. And really that will depend on, so for now I'm playing it slowly, so I'm just doing it as individually picked notes. When I play it live, I do it as chords because I'm on my own, so I need the bigger sound. It'll depend on you and what you feel comfortable with, what you feel like doing. Another thing is that this is a really good exercise for learning your finger picking, because a lot of finger pickers, especially sort of in country music and blues music, will need to get used to using their thumb as that ringing bass note. So you can do it. You can use it to practice different styles of finger picking technique. So now we start moving up through the song, and I'm not going to repeat the entire pattern every time, but I am going to show you the chords of each pattern. So then you move up. So Elvis used to hang out there a lot, you know. So now we've moved up to D sharp. So you can play this in two ways, and again this will just come down to what you feel most comfortable with. So you can either move from here up to here. So if you move up to here, then what you're going to be doing is barring across here, and then fretting the rest of the D chord there. Or... and then again, keeping that ringing bass line going. Like that. Or you can play it up here, which is where what you'll have to do is move from the sort of the classic D fretted shape to one where you use your ring finger here and bar that across, and then your little finger on the 4th fret. So it's effectively a D shifted up by 1 fret. But you've always got to keep a finger on the root note for this song, because you're always doing that. So I personally prefer moving up to here, just because from this position it feels a lot more natural to me than to go, because that's quite a quick transition to have to make. But again, it would depend on what you're comfortable with, and possibly you would feel more comfortable playing the entire first verse also in this way. So that's a lot easier in a lot of ways. And it'll just come down to what chords you're more comfortable with playing. I'm more comfortable with playing nice open chords down at the bottom of the neck. Some people are more comfortable playing bar chords. So that's just a personal preference. So, when you've moved up here, first you have the D sharp chord. Trenton's in New Jersey, north of Jefferson, Missouri. You've got Richmond in Virginia, South Dakota has Pierre. So now you move to a B flat, which there's not really many ways to play a B flat. It's either here as a bar chord, or here as a bar chord. So again, that will just depend on your personal preference. But that's the second chord. So, Trenton's in New Jersey, north of Jefferson, Missouri. You've got Richmond in Virginia, South Dakota has Pierre. Harrisburg's in Pennsylvania, and Augusta's up in Maine. So like that. And then the final chord of this little pattern is a G sharp. So again, literally you've just taken all of the chords from before. So you've taken your D, your A, and your G, and you've shifted them up 1. So now it's D sharp, A sharp, G sharp. Or E flat, B flat, A flat if you're a pessimist. So that's for the second verse. So then, moving up into the next verse after that, you move up to an E. And this is the first time where, if you're not using some sort of alternate tuning, this is the first time where you actually now have 3 possible ways you can play this chord. So you can either play it keeping that same shape from here, and just shift it up 1. Or if you're playing up here, again, you can just shift up 1. Or you can use an open E chord. Now this is what I like to use, again, because it has a bigger sound, it's more sort of ringing and booming. So this time, because now this E is being played, when we're doing that bum, 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 bum rhythm, we are just going to the next string up. So the E root note, and then we're on the 2nd fret of the A string for B. So So it's just... like so. So that's where we go to. Juneau's in Alaska, and it's Lincoln in Nebraska, and there's Raleigh out in North Carolina, and then... So now we're on just a full B chord. A nice B chord. Raleigh out in North Carolina, and then... Madison, Wisconsin, Olympia in Washington, Phoenix, Arizona, Lansing, Michigan. So now when we move into the second sort of pattern, we're now using an A chord instead of the G chord or the G sharp. So in that same pattern, but with E to B, E, B, E, and then E, A, E, B, E. And the final key change for the final verse is just another simple half step up. So now we're in F. So again, there's a lot of different ways that you can play this F chord. You can either be shifting up here, or you can be up here. Or if you're moving up from an E, you can now be here. So again, there's two different ways of doing that rhythm. You can either do the full F chord, so being, you know, the usual rhythm, or you can do a lazy F chord, which is where you don't do the root note, you just play it here. So very lazy on my part, I'm afraid. And the way that you keep that rhythm going then is that you shift back to doing... So you play the 3rd fret of the D string, and then you go down to the 3rd fret of the A string. So it's like that. Cheyenne is in Wyoming, and perhaps you make your home in Salt Lake City out in Utah where the buffalo roam. So then we go down to a C chord, which you do between the C and the G. Cheyenne is in Wyoming, and perhaps you'll make your home in Salt Lake City out in Utah where the buffalo roam. Atlanta's down in Georgia, and there's Bismarck, North Dakota. You can live in Frankfurt in your old Kentucky home. Simple. So then for the second pattern, now we're back to our old friend, the B flat. Salem in Oregon, from there we join. Little Rock in Arkansas, and Iowa's got Des Moines. Sacramento, California, Oklahoma, Granite City, Charleston, West Virginia, and Nevada, Carson City. And then there's a lovely little pattern at the end. That's all the capitals there are. And that pattern is a very simple, it's the shave and a haircuts pattern. Shave and a haircut, 2 bits. So the way that you do that down here is that you play the 3rd fret of the D string, then you play the 3rd fret of the A string, and it's a sort of abbreviated shave and a haircuts in the song. That's all the capitals there are, not... It's... So I'm going to teach you both versions because they're both fun. So first we have the 3rd fret of the D string, 3rd fret of the A string, 2nd fret of the A string, 4th fret of the A string, 3rd fret of the A string. So it's very simple. And then 2nd fret of the D string, 3rd fret of the D string. That's all the capitals there are. So the full version of the shave and a haircuts would actually be... So when you do that transition, instead of going straight from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret, you have to very quickly throw in the 3rd fret of the A string as well. So becomes... So it's literally one note changes, and it's just adding one note. It's not changing the pattern or the chord. So for the song, it's that's all the capitals there are, and then it's always nice to add that root note in just to capo things off a little bit. But you can do it. You can play it right as well. And that's the whole song basically. So you take that little pattern at the beginning. just repeat it through the whole song, shifting up through the chords, using the chords you're most comfortable with, until you end there. So that's it for this song. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that it was informative. I hope that you are able to play along. At the very least, please check out my cover version, because that'll be a bit easier to play to, because I play just in standard tuning in the chords I've just shown you, so you can sort of practice along to that before you take it out on the road. And I'll see you at the next one.